Well, hello everyone in Dareal. I'm sorry, we're back in lockdown again due to no fault of our own, but that doesn't mean we can't continue learning a little bit more about our ukulele and playing a lot. So I'm presenting lesson 4 with some new information and some new chords and that sort of thing. So yeah, this will really just be a poor substitute for meeting together and playing together on a Monday afternoon. So a quick bit of review. I might go and get a drink of water in a second. A quick bit of review from the last 3 weeks, even though we've only been together really 2 weeks, and we've had a break in between there as well. We talked about strings, and from I say from top to bottom, we've got G and C and E and A. And I'm hoping that you've nailed all those and you're quite familiar with those strings, string names at least, the pitches of the strings. We also talked about the grip, how you can cradle the neck between the thumb and forefinger and be flexible and have your fingers in the right places at the right times without being too cramped or awkward, even if you've got arthritic wrists and or fingers like me, gnarly arthritic fingers. Look at that one. Oops, no, not that one, that one. That one, yeah. The other thing was the strumming. And we were talking about the zone where this area here between the top of the body and then the bottom of the neck, and often there's quite a big gap in between there. There's no fretboard, but that's the sweet spot. That's the best place to strum, and it's usually the best place for your arm to be in relation to your grip on the bottom of the machine too. Back up here, you don't get quite as good a sound. Right in the middle's not bad, but it's much better up here. They just seem to resonate a lot more. And we've learnt 6 chords and played quite a lot of songs as a result. So we've got C. I'm not sure I can put this in the right place so you can see properly, but you should be able to play all those chords yourself quite successfully right by now. C, G, A minor, what else? F, D, and remember you can do a number of D combinations. So you can use all 3 fingers all the way across the 2nd fret in the top 3 strings. You could just use 1 finger barred with a little gap underneath the A string so it still sounds. I can't quite get that right. But some people can. The other thing you can do is just bar the whole thing, so you've got playing a different note on the A string, but it doesn't really matter. It's pretty close. Or you can do what I do and just add the extra D up the top here on the A string. So you've got a D there and a D, oops, a D there. You've got 4 notes and it sounds like this. A little bit harder to do, I guess, but you've got choices to make. So they're the 6 basic chords that we've learnt so far. There are more coming up. The other thing I wanted to show you, and I'll do this now, is just where you are, week 4, and thank you. We've strummed and we've looked at chords. Excellent. So I wanted to talk about accessories. These are the things that can enhance your playing or make it more comfortable to play or easier to play. So the first one are the straps. This is a particularly good design of strap. I did have one nearby. I'm not sure where it is now. But it's one that goes around your neck. As you can see here, it goes around the neck and then goes in behind the body of the ukulele and then around the front and hooks into the sound hole. So it's not terribly secure, but it does hold it there. And it means that the weight of the ukulele, even though it doesn't weigh very much, the weight's being held by your neck and back, basically. So you don't have to use your hands and arms to actually support the ukulele and to hold it up. So you can I think you have a degree of flexibility with both your hands and your arms when you've got a strap like that. The good thing about this is that even if you drop the ukulele, if you just completely let go, it will unravel a couple of times and then still be hooked on here by the little hook around the sound hole. It's quite hard to get off, actually. So you've got to muck around a bit underneath that A string to get it off. But they're really cheap and they're quite effective. The other sort of strap you can get are the traditional sort of guitar type straps of different widths. I've got a couple that are quite thin, which are good. You can get a standard guitar type thing, which is like 4 inches long, wide, and they hook onto the button here or whatever that's called at the bottom, and you can often get one on the side here, or you can just thread it through the just below the machine heads there, above the nut on the neck. So that's a good sort of strap that goes around the back and shoulders and leaves your arms free, and it holds the complete weight of the ukulele, and you can also adjust the length. So they're good. Straps are a good thing, and they're reasonably cheap too. You don't have to spend huge amounts of money on a strap to suit your machine. Another thing you can get as a accessory is a stand. And here's one that's a bit like a saxophone stand or a guitar stand. It has a little clip up here or a space for the to support the neck, and a little spot here, a couple of little arms there to support the body, the bottom of the body. And you can adjust the height as well. So if you've got a little soprano, it will still work. And if you've got a baritone, a really long one, you can push it right up. So that works. And they're fairly expensive. They're probably in the sort of $50 to $80 range, these things, but they're well worth having. And it just means that you won't have your ukulele sitting on the floor with the risk of it being trodden on or kicked over or whatever. So yeah, they're a good thing to have, particularly if you've got more than one ukulele and you'd like to swap over, in the middle of something. They're good to have to rest them on while you're not playing them. There's another one that's a little bit more like a guitar stand, and they all work. I've got one like this that I use to hold my French horn. It just happens to be the right sort of dimensions, and put half the bell on here and the rest of it sits up there. But again, they're made of metal. They're usually fairly robust and not too expensive. This one here is made of timber, laminate, and it sort of folds up, and in fact, it's small enough to put in your case if you've got a good case. So they're quite snazzy too. Again, and not too expensive. So that stands. Another thing you can get are the plectrum or the pick. And they come in all sorts of shapes and sizes. In fact, they don't come in all sorts of shapes. They're all pretty much the same, heart shape or rounded triangle shape. But you can get them in thicknesses that suit the style of playing that you're wanting to achieve. You get really thin ones. They're made of plastic. Or you can get quite thick ones, which will give you lots of volume and lots of attack. The other thing you can get are some felt ones, which give you a nice, it basically gives you, it's a substitute for your fingernail and your finger. And the felt ones act like your fingernail as well, which is pretty good. You get a more mellow sound, softer sound. And again, they're reasonably cheap. You can buy a whole packet of them for a few dollars. And you're bound to lose them over time. They disappear, fly out the window, or they get left behind. But yeah, they're pretty cheap. So get onto some picks. Another vital piece of equipment, and again, they're not very expensive. They range in price from sort of $6 or $7 up to, say, I don't know, 30 or 40. But they're all pretty much the same. They work the same way. These particular ones clip onto a part of the ukulele, and generally it's up the top here. And it picks up the vibrations of the strings. And because the vibrations for a particular sound are always the same frequency, then it will tell you whether you're on that frequency or not. So the standard one is A, and that will be vibrating at 440 megahertz. So, what is it, 440 hertz? I can't remember, but it's 440 anyway. So all the other notes on your ukulele can be tuned, and generally you'll have a dial that goes flat here. It's lower than the note, or higher than the note that is sharp, and then you just try and adjust the string so that it goes in tune, and you get a nice green zone right in the middle there. Close enough is usually good enough. With these ukuleles, you can see here it says ukulele, it says ukulele C tuning, and you can get ones that are just for ukulele, but most of them have the capability of tuning a bass guitar or piano or a violin or strings and that sort of thing. So there'll be a whole range of different tuning modes. You just have to make sure that it's on ukulele C and nothing else when you tune it. One other thing you can get in terms of a tuner, electronic tuner, is an app on your phone, on your iPhone or smartphone. So they work in exactly the same way, except they'll pick up the sound rather than the vibration. So if there's other things going on, people talking, other ukuleles, other instruments, you may not get a proper tuning. You have to be pretty quiet for the phone ones to work, but they are good and they don't cost anything. So, you know, there's a bonus there. Moving right along, you may or may not have heard of a capo or a capo. And this is just a way of, as I got here, shortening the fretboard so that you can play the same chords. So you use the same chord patterns, but the sound will be different. It'll be in a different key. And you think, well, what's the good of that? It means you can either adjust the sound so that it suits your voice range better, so it's not too high or not too low for you, or you can set it so that you can accompany another instrument or a YouTube video or something. So I found the capo. There's another sort here. They're fairly cheap too. They're just an aluminium thing with a spring, and it's got a like a plier grip thing there, and it just clamps down on the particular fret. It gives you, well, that'll give you 1, 2, 3 semitones higher than you would have been playing naturally. Oh, so that one's 4 semitones higher. You can't go lower, which is unfortunate, but you can go much, much, much higher, which will in effect be lower eventually. And in order to be effective, then you need to have a little bit of musical knowledge or music theory knowledge just to get it in the right place, or you can just experiment. If you know the song Give It Up by KC and the Sunshine Band, it's only 1 semitone out from your standard tuning on YouTube. So if you get it up on YouTube, you put a capo on the first fret here and you'll be in tune. So you'll be able to play whatever chords it has in the book or whatever. I think it's D. So if you played a D there, it would be out of tune. But if you put the capo there and you play a D there, because that will be the new second fret, it'll be in tune perfectly. So it'll work really well. So, you know, not essential, but certainly a good accessory to have, particularly if you're playing with other instruments like clarinets and trumpets and things. And finally, not finally, but penultimately, you can go upgrade to electrification. So you get an amplifier, it doesn't have to be big. This is an interesting ukulele, this one too. It's a wide-necked soprano, I think. And you can see that it's got a really wide neck. So people with nice long fingers will really get an advantage out of that. But yes, it's set up for electronic amplification. It's probably got a couple of modes here as well. You can have it hard or soft or low or high or something. And you can also have it remotely. So there'll be a receiver in here somewhere, and then you just plug that thing in and or a transmitter, and it'll pick it up. Or you have a lead, you just have a a plug-in lead there, and it goes into the amp as well. Great fun if you're into that sort of thing, amplifying. And like I said, lucky last is bags or cases, and they'll come in all sorts of shapes and sizes to suit your particular size of instrument, and they do range in price. The cheaper ones are usually thin and fairly ineffective if you're transporting your ukulele a lot. Then it pays to have lots of protection, lots of padding. So get a really solid, padded and strong bag, or they often call them a gig bag, or buy a case that's made out of like compressed cardboard or plywood or something that's a little bit stronger and more robust. Because if you drop it out a window or it gets knocked down the stairs or something, it won't wreck your instrument. It'll only wreck the case, which is good. For about $60, you can buy a decent hard case for a soprano or a concert or a tenor even. So they're well worth the money if you value your investment. So I will get out of that now. Oh, no, I won't. I want to introduce you to 6 new chords. And you go, no, not 6 chords. I can't do that. But be assured that there's only one of them that's really new, and that's E7. I'll talk about that in a second. The rest are really just variations of chords you already know. And they're all, they all are 7th chords. Okay, so they're A minor 7, C7, A7, etc. The 7th note in a scale is very much like a leading note, and the 7th chord gives you the feeling that you're going from one place to another. So you're going from where you are, say on G, and you play G7 and it says, I want to move to somewhere else. And often it's at the end of a verse and it takes you into the chorus, or it's the end of the chorus and it takes you into a verse or a bridge or something. And they're used a lot for effect. And they give you that sort of slightly different sound to the normal major chord. So this is a 7th chord. So let's start with C7. So again, it's a 1-finger chord, and it's played on the same A string, but it's 2 frets down. So that's 1st fret. You can play it with any finger, depending on what's coming or going, where you've been before. And if you're playing C and then C7, just slide the finger down. G7, surprisingly, it's easier to play. Well, I think it is. Most people do. It's easier to play with a finger than G with the note down here. But it may mean you have to rearrange which fingers you use. They say you should play the G7 with the middle finger on the C string, 2nd fret, 1st finger on the E string, 1st fret, and the ring finger on A. Oh, I pointed to the wrong thing. Middle finger, 1st finger, ring finger, middle, 1st, ring. Try it and see if you think it's easier than just the G chord that you play. But also listen to the difference. Go from G to G7. A minor 7, well, I'll let you work that out. You can decide how many fingers you need to use to play that. Maybe you could play A minor and then A minor 7 to see the difference. Often they're quite subtle, the sound. Okay, D7. This is really easy to play too. It's probably a bit easier than the D if you're using 3 fingers, 1, 2, 3, and the same fret there. The D7, you can bar the whole thing. So you can put 1 finger all the way across there and then use another finger, usually the one next to it. So you bar it with the 4th finger and then use your middle finger. to press down the 3rd fret of the A string. Because remember, where's my mouse gone? Remember, even if you press that fret there, if you press another one further down, it'll be that one that matters, not the one behind it. So basically play whatever's comfortable here, but I find that the middle finger's okay. If you're used to playing the 1, 2, 3 fingers for D, and you want to continue doing that when you play D7, you've got a pinky just out the side here that can be used to play the C note on this A string to complete your D7. Very easy to do. A7 is a 1-finger chord, just like A minor, and it's another good one. You could compare it with A, with the 2, where is it, A there, and let go of that one, and you have 1 finger there. Just compare it, see what they sound like. And you can tell once you played A and then A7 that it wants to go somewhere else. It may want to go to E7. So E7, I call it a companion chord to G, because you use the same fingers on the C and A strings. So the C and the A strings. But the 4-finger moves from the G string, sorry, to the G string from E. So you're going to move a finger from there to there. Compare that to there. So G7 and E7 aren't dissimilar. You'll be using the same fingers, and you should be able to move that from there to there. Whoops, come back. Oh, that's the trickiest one, I think. It's a bit of a stretch. So there's 6 new chords, but they're all complementary to the 6 chords you already know. So I'm hoping that won't be too much of a stretch. And you've got all week to practice and play things. So I'm going to send you some songs to try out. Some of these ones in here. I can't remember which ones they are. Oh yeah, The Tide is High. Is that in there? Yes. Wild Thing, Don't Stop. Few ones off the road, no. Anyway, I'll send you enough to be going on with, I'm sure. The aim always is to, what's that? The aim always is to build up the speed of swapping from one chord to another. And that's the hardest part of this whole journey of playing the ukulele. Any goose can play each chord one at a time and strum. That's a piece of cake. But in the context of a song, while you're doing several things, getting the chord right, strumming a pattern that makes sense for that song, changing from one chord to another when you need to, and singing the words and getting the chords in the right place where the words fit. In the context of a song, it's like 5 times harder to do that. I can't see my hand. 5 times harder to do that than just playing the chord. So, work on these things slowly. Develop those skills in recognizing a chord, quickly changing, and the quicker you can do it, the more comfortable you'll be at playing a song and singing through a song. And I'm trying to pick songs that, well, hopefully you know reasonably well, so that you don't have to think too much about the words, where they go. You concentrate more on those chords and how to get them, because you're trying to look at the words on the page, and you're also trying to look at the chords and where your fingers are. I prefer you concentrate on the page and then do the chords automatically where they are, without looking down, because you lose your contact with the song. Anyway, I've got a few things to send you, so I'll send you this little video link with I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 songs. I think that's probably enough. That's like 1 a day for the next week. and 2 on Sunday. And the chances are that we won't be back again on Monday next week. In fact, it's very, very likely that we won't be out of lockdown by then. So I'll just try and do the same thing again for lesson 5, although we are getting on a bit. So I'd really like to be able to get together for real and just check on what you guys are doing. And if necessary, we'll put off another lesson for another week and see what happens. But let's keep an eye on the news. Let's keep in touch, and good luck for the rest of the week. And I hope you enjoy singing, playing, testing your skills out, and developing your skills out on the next little challenge on ukulele. So keep it up, and all the best. Bye.